Hi Aquarius, Sun and Rising. Welcome to your January 2024 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So, the big news of January is that Mercury goes direct on the first of the month after the holiday season is covered in Mercury retrograde and all of that. So, I'm recording this before the holidays have officially begun, and I suppose there might be some snafus with travel plans and things of that nature. But yeah, January things are kind of like getting squared away. But also, Uranus, which is your ruler, is going direct on the 27th. And it's always great when our ruler goes direct. But the thing about it is that when that happens, there's going to be a clear and open span of over 2 months where there's no retrogrades. Well, I mean, actually, April 1st there'll be another Mercury retrograde, but the shadow period is often counted as part of the time when um, things can go wonky. So, however you see it, like I would just say uh, April 1st. So, that's over 2 months, starting from the end of January. So that's pretty cool. Also, Pluto goes back into your sign. That's another big deal. But let's start at the beginning of the month. On the 1st, Mercury goes direct at 22 degrees of Sagittarius. This will fall in your 11th house, the house that you rule, which is the house of hopes and wishes. Mercury went retrograde in Capricorn, or your 12th house, and then went back into the 11th house before it went direct. So there is something going on that has to do with tuning into others. That can be part of this. And thinking of others that is on the like the I could say the worldly level, the physical level in the 11th house, and then on the psychic level in the 12th house. The 12th house, among other things, I mean, this is Pisces domain. It is the house of past lives, karma, the spiritual dimensions. It's also the house of suffering, the house of the hermit, and things like that. And it's also the house of the collective soul. So we have individual souls, and then all of us are one. Just like when we say we're at one with God, that also means we're at one with each other. Well, the 11th house that Aquarius rules preaches about the collective. And it's, Aquarians treat other people like they are part of the human family, and they don't discriminate one person to the next. And therefore, because they don't, they're known to have a very open mind about things. I mean, personally, I could joke about that and say, well, people who supposedly have an open mind, you'd be surprised about that, because they may only have an open mind to people that they deem worthy to open their mind to. But, in general, I think that Aquarians hold this ideal. And yet, there's also the spiritual ideal. And this is where it can get tricky, because sometimes, I would say with the 11th house, the social justice warrior house, I call it sometimes, and it is slightly tongue in cheek. But the idea of I'm going to make the world a better place, that's awesome. But some people think they're going to save the world. They have these delusions of grandeur, if you want to call it that, but they just feel like, oh, I want the world to be this Shangri-La, this place that's like this perfect place. And we forget that there may be a reason why there is this contrast, that life is all about contrast. It's not about everything being warm and fuzzy all the time, because then there's nothing to compare it to. And also, then it's like a heavenly state. We have to have that kind of, we have to be able to see the difference between what exists and what we want. The 11th house is pretty idealistic, but I think the 12th house is as well. So maybe some of that is like you reviewing some of your um, ideas, Aquarius, and how they, how realistic are they? If you really want to help others, how can you truly do that? So that might be how it's playing out for you in some way. Um, on the 4th, Mars goes into Capricorn. So Mars goes into the 12th house on the 4th of the month. You're going to have these planets going into your 12th house. This is your hibernation period. You could say too, it's like the dark night of the soul sometimes. If you feel like kind of, um, I don't know if I'd say that things don't seem as positive, or if you even feel physically tired, it could be because your sun in the 12th house is a bit debilitated. So that might be the cue to rest more for the next month. Maybe go to bed earlier, and making sure to do self-care like yoga and things that nourish your system, good foods that nourish your system. But Mercury is going back into that 12th house on the 13th. Mars goes there on the 4th. The new moon goes there on the 11th. A 12th house new moon, you can look at the new moon as a time of planting seeds. The 12th house can be the house of the womb of creation. So, even sometimes more than the first house, planting seeds of intention when the new moon is in the 12th house may even yield greater results. I've never tried it, but I'm just saying, because you're not experiencing the new moon already in the first house. It's like anticipating it, and you're getting ahead of the game. So things that you would like to bring to fruition in the upcoming 12 months. And maybe you set those intentions as it pertains to spiritual discipline, because the 12th house is the house of spirituality. On the 20th, this is very powerful for you Aquarians. The sun goes into your sign, so there's your solar return, and Pluto goes into your sign. Now, you already had it, in late March for a couple of months. Now you're going to see it for another bunch of months before it goes back into Capricorn in the latter part of 2024. So that can be exciting too. On the 23rd, Venus goes into Capricorn. Venus goes into that 12th house. Venus in the 12th can mean if you are doing some kind of artistic project that you're doing it behind the scenes. It can mean even kind of a down low situation, or that you're dating somebody and you're not letting anybody know about it, because Venus has been in Sagittarius, and that was during the holiday season. You might have met somebody during the holiday season, and maybe you have mutual friends and you just don't want all the scrutiny. You just want to keep it amongst the two of you. On the 25th, the full moon is at 5 degrees of Leo. This is your opposite sign. So the opposite house is the 7th house of committed partnership, and There could be secrets coming out for people that are coupled. Um, Maybe endings. For some people, this might be the time that you actually propose or the other person does. I would say specifically you doing it, because the full moon can mean this status has to change. So whether it's changing to divorce or marriage, either one, and marriage could simply mean moving in together too, then that could be what's going on. On the 27th, Uranus goes direct at 19 degrees of Taurus. So, this for you, Aquarius, is your fourth house of home and family. There may have been some events that, and this can also include your mother, that have been unpredictable. Not that Uranus direct is going to make everything predictable, but it might be easier to handle. So it is, I mean, while Uranus is still in Taurus, it is kind of a wild card energy in terms of your domestic side of life. So you, I actually, I think that the average Aquarian wouldn't mind having Uranus in their fourth house, because it can mean that there is some excitement on the home front. Usually Aquarians aren't particularly domestic, even if they are homebodies, I would say, in a certain way. They may be kind of refusing to see themselves that way, that settled down, or that into those kinds of things. That's going to depend on the individual, obviously, but I just don't see it. But this can make things a little bit more interesting, where your home life is, something that keeps you on your toes. Maybe it's even like, oh yeah, that's another thing too. When Uranus is in the fourth house, people may move suddenly, and maybe since they said, when the transit happens, that the person may keep moving because they have to move. They don't have a choice in the matter. Something comes up where they have to, move house. So I think this makes it a lot more stable, actually. Okay, that's what I have for you, Aquarius. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, especially since you're one of the signs in January that has your solar return, as I have just stated to Capricorn, I have this reading that I'm promoting that's actually a double reading called my deep dive reading, which is an hour of natal chart analysis and an hour of transits for a special price, 2024 transits, I should say. And I have also a package deal with the tarot that is for sale, by buying that package deal. I have standalone readings, and some of them, including the transits and blah, 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 but also, career matters, money and career, love, and things like that. You can find out more information at the link below. I'm at rainamoonastrology.com. Thank you for listening. Bye.